What if buying a profitable existing business didn't necessarily mean writing a huge check from your own savings? What if instead you learned how experienced dealmakers think about seller financing, earnouts, business assets, investors, lenders, and other sources of capital? Welcome to Creative Business Acquisitions. This is not a book about finding a magical free business. It's a practical introduction to the art of structuring acquisitions, understanding how a profitable business may potentially be acquired with substantially less of your own cash by intelligently structuring who gets paid, when they get paid, and where the acquisition capital comes from. And importantly, the book explains that low money down does not mean low risk. First, you'll develop the acquisition entrepreneur's mindset. You'll learn why trust, terms, and credibility can become powerful currencies when you cannot simply lead with cash. Then you'll learn how to search for the right businesses and the right sellers, including why motivated owners, retiring founders, and off-market opportunities can create very different negotiations from conventional broker-led deals. Then we get into one of the foundations of creative acquisitions, seller financing. Instead of receiving the entire purchase price at closing, the seller may finance part of the acquisition and receive payments over time. You'll learn how principal, interest, repayment periods, security, and standby arrangements can affect both the buyer and the seller. You'll also discover earnouts, where part of the purchase price depends on future business performance. Then we examine installment sales, delayed payments, milestone-based payments, escrow, and holdbacks. In other words, instead of treating the purchase price as one giant number due today, you'll learn to think about acquisition price across time, performance, and risk. One particularly powerful section explores annuity-style and structured payouts. A retiring owner may care less about receiving one enormous check and more about creating dependable income after leaving the business. The ebook explains how long-term structured payments can potentially align the seller's retirement objectives with the buyer's financing requirements. You'll then explore equity rollovers, where a seller retains part ownership rather than cashing out completely. And you'll discover how assets already sitting inside a target business, equipment, property, inventory, and receivables, may sometimes help support acquisition financing. The book explores factoring, equipment-backed lending, and sale-leaseback strategies. Then, the book moves beyond conventional structures. You'll explore management buy-ins, consulting to ownership arrangements, supplier financing, customer prepayments, special purpose vehicles with passive investors, licensing arrangements, bolt-on acquisitions, and other advanced structures. The objective isn't cleverness for its own sake. It's learning to solve financing and seller problems creatively. And this leads to one of the most important concepts in the book, the capital stack. Instead of expecting one source to finance an entire acquisition, you'll learn how different sources of capital can potentially be layered together. Because sometimes the question isn't, where do I find all the money? The better question is, how do I structure each part of the purchase price? But financing means nothing if the seller won't accept your proposal. That's why an entire chapter deals with negotiation psychology. You'll learn how to position seller financing without making yourself appear financially weak, how to address the seller's fear of not getting paid, how transition support can build confidence, and when you should simply walk away from a bad deal. The ebook also covers the side that social media gurus often conveniently forget: risk, personal guarantees, security interests, legal documentation, due diligence, disputes, and post-acquisition cash flow all matter. Creative financing still creates real obligations. And Chapter 16 takes the concept further, financing 100% with other people's money. You'll explore search funds, independent sponsors, investor syndicates, SPVs, lenders, and other legitimate pools of acquisition capital. But the book makes an important distinction. Zero personal cash does not mean free money. Every capital provider wants something in return: interest, equity, security, guarantees, or control rights. You'll even see how multiple OPM sources can potentially be combined into a zero personal capital stack, and exactly what the buyer may have to surrender in return. And this isn't just 16 chapters of explanation. At the end, You'll find practical starting point resources, including a sample letter of intent, a seller promissory note framework, an earn-out clause language bank, a deal terminology glossary, and a comprehensive due diligence checklist. Finally, everything is brought together into a step-by-step acquisition roadmap. Define your acquisition thesis, build your sourcing pipeline, identify motivated sellers, develop lender relationships, structure your offer, issue your LOI, conduct due diligence, engage professional advisors, close the acquisition, and execute your first 100 days. Creative Business Acquisitions is designed for entrepreneurs who want to understand a different path to business ownership. Not simply, how much money do I have, but how can I structure a deal that works for the seller, the capital providers, the business, and me. 16 chapters, 5 practical appendices, creative financing structures, negotiation strategies, capital stack examples, templates, and checklists.